Oh, hi! Computers in the future may weigh as little as 1.5 tons. I was supposed to go out tonight. I'll give you 3 guesses as to how that went. Amid the utter lack of schedule that I have or don't have, I made it out to a trampoline gym with an old friend of mine. Gonna be a little sore in the morning. Oh, how the funky monkey will claim me as his next victim. Only if you don't stretch first. So far, so good. Nope. I get home, conk out for an hour, and when I wake up, I am still tired. All I can think is, maybe I'll stay in tonight. With tea. Now, I don't usually bail on plans. Being able to make good on them at all in the first place is a completely different issue. But if I say, hey, let's go out and dance, I'm not gonna later say, let's not go out and dance. Except in the case of tonight. So I send profuse apologies to my friends and stay home. This isn't to knock any of you who are sitting in front of your computers right at this moment with your cup of tea and your insomnia and your introversion. I'm all about that. I'm doing it right now. So here I am, home alone on a Saturday night. I decide to try to salvage the night. I start doing some writing, and I'm reading through chapters, giving myself edit notes when I stumble upon the following. Did you see Aiden? No, why? Not here or at your lockers even? Why do you want to see him so badly? And a little later on, Aiden pitched the butt of his smoke into the creek as they passed under the graffitied bridge. So that's where you were. Where I was, Rowan repeated. Yeah, I couldn't find you after school. David didn't know either. He told me you weren't around. Didn't tell me that. But let's rewind here. I started writing my book in middle school. This eventually progressed into high school. When I would meet up with my friends, I would just meet up with my friends. There wasn't so much this. But all I can think of right now is, why didn't he just text him? How did this happen? Have you ever read a story and been like, where's the texting at? Work with me here. You're reading a classic novel, and it's good. And then the plot rides entirely on someone missing a fax. It sort of suspends your suspension of disbelief, no? Now, setting is kind of an important thing. Duh. It's totally your decision as a writer where you want to set your story. There's a bajillion movies about World War II. Donnie Darko occurs in October 1988. Harry Potter occurs in the 1990s, but that's not really an issue. Electronics don't work around Hogwarts. Though it probably would have been useful if they were able to text each other in Deathly Hallows. Then there's the unintentional. I remember my first episode of Buffy when it came out. Now watching those episodes, Cordelia pulling out a brick, extending the antenna, and calling everybody she knows. The problem is when signs of the times and the setting of your story become a little detrimental to the whole telling of it thing. This is what I'm trying to avoid. Too late. Sometimes stories can handwave things really easily. Only got 1 bar. My battery's dead. Someone stole my phone. And so forth. I would like to avoid this. The main note I inevitably keep writing down for myself is, wouldn't they text? Where is his phone? Does she have a phone? Oh god. Who doesn't have a phone these days? And you really don't need a phone. I still think of these things as being supplemental. I find it's actually starting to affect the structure of some of the conflict. And by that I mean nullifying it entirely. If he couldn't find him after school, he would have just texted him, told him where he was. They wouldn't be having a conversation about it. Crap. What do I do? Do I try to modernize things at the risk of conflict and the inevitability of becoming not so modern in the near future? Do I accept the fact that my teenagehood and these stories came in a very specific time and place in history? A turning point, you might even say. As someone who pilfers the wikis on a binge-worthy basis, I have guffawed for minutes on TV tropes, reading about how adolescence is sort of dated even when it hits the TV screen because the people who are creating the content were adolescents a while ago, and now I am one of they. I didn't have a phone until like 3 years ago. Am I a Luddite? Yeah. Now there weren't no phones in my time at high school. Now, I find myself not even able to knock on a door. I call. Not the point. Kids these days don't remember that. Technology marches on. So how do kids communicate these days? I'm speaking directly to the teenagers of today. Oh god. Those of you who had to wait till you turned 13 before you could get Facebook. Those of you who don't remember what it's not like to have an email. Those of you who don't remember what it's like to not be able to make a phone call while also browsing the internet. What's a fax? The ones of you who don't remember dial-up. Incidentally, dial is an old term to describe the rotary phone dial. So when you dial the number, you had to... Yeah, that's before my time too. And then I started thinking about obsolete anachronisms. Is that the word? Things that we say but that don't really apply anymore. And I'm not talking about your parents saying, hey, did you tape that show on Netflix? Funny. Floppy disk logo for saving. Have you ever downloaded a file? Have you ever cut and pasted something onto something else? Have you ever watched a gag reel? I don't want to come off as some wanky, self-indulgent, narcissistic millennial complaining about a time that's really not so far away. I'll let that happen on its own. I'm not pining over the fact that these things are no longer. 1990s, I love you, but you had weird toy commercials. I'm also just freaking out about the progression of time in general. The more and more I keep thinking about it, the more I have this bitter taste in my mouth. Is it the sugar I neglected to put in my tea? Or is it something else? Growing up, aging, mortality. Hey, so yes, I am freaking out on quarter life and other crises. Really what this all boiled down to is me. Me. No one tells you how time just doesn't get, there's just more of it. And for those of you who have made it this far, thank you. Some of you at this point in the video may be going, bitch cakes, you a baby-faced boy in a hoodie, doesn't look a day over 16, talking to a camera with a flip screen, alone in your room. What concerns could you possibly have about getting older? I don't know. Age equals not maturity. I know I'm not that old. I know I have a lot of time left, hopefully. I have way too much free time and I'm freaking out about it. What a dick. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. Not the being a dick part. There is a flip side. Perspective. We are witnessing these things develop, and not just as viewers, but as creators. Widespread democratized media platform. Not only are we seeing this from the sidelines and being simply fed information, we are creating it, passing it out. And that gives us power, if we use it. How did this get into a motivational speech? So while feeling it is scary if we can get over the terror, it's pretty good. Wasn't that a great coverall message of positivity to take home? It's cold now. Ultimately, a good story is a good story, and if you tell it well, it doesn't really matter when it takes place, because everything becomes antiquated at some point or another. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to text the few teenagers that I have in my phone. That sounds wrong. Do you even know where that needle scratch came from? I don't. I buy these. If you'll excuse me, I have to text a few teenagers that I know and ask them how they communicate with their friends. Assuming they're not out partying or whatever. Thanks for watching. Tube in next time. Hey, do you know where the term tube comes from? It's kind of a funny story. Thanks for watching. We'll dance another week. Only got 2 bars. 2 bars, you'll be fine.